century of World Challenge iron has taken to the track, and the reasons for both are simple. We're at Long Beach, and it's time for the Roar by the Shore.
What a launch by Andy Pilgrim.
He is squeezed. Oh, he and Propelli hit.
Curran takes a look down the inside.
3 abreast into 12.
Under braking at the end of the straightaway. Side by side with Boris said, did he carry the momentum? No, a little slide.
Deep on the brakes, once again down into 10A.
They're still grinding on each other.
This is World Challenge. This is how racing should be. This is Sports Car Wars.
Welcome, everybody, to the Toyo Tires World Challenge at Long Beach, presented by the Bondurant School of High Performance Driving. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Kramer, and for the 5th consecutive year, this wonderful championship makes a stop at this legendary venue early in the season. Now, this place has, for a long time, been referred to as America's Monaco, and certainly with its location, this legendary seaside circuit, and also the fact it's right smack dab in the heart of celebrity land. This is the race to be at, but also it's the place to be seen, and as a result, a huge crowd has turned out for this weekend's racing. And we are looking at the 5th time the World Challenge Championship has stopped here, and certainly the challenges of this circuit remain unchanged, but there's a lot that has changed within the World Challenge itself, and we're going to be getting to more of that in just a moment. But first of all, joining me as always for the call is Tom Natchew, and while I'm up here enjoying the ambiance, the smell of the burgers cooking down there, he's down where the action is on the grid. Tom?
You're running for the championship. You know what to do.
Hey, we're here in Long Beach today. We're sitting on pole position. We're trying to win this race for Dodge Motorsports and Woodhouse Performance Racing. I got the Dodge fans up in the stands. They're the best fans I've ever seen in this entire continent. We're going to try and win this. We're going to go for the win. Off the start, I got 2 all-wheel drives beside me. Let's see if we keep those guys behind us. If not, it's 50 minutes. Checker flag where it counts. See you guys later.
Well, I'll tell you what, in just 5 years, this has developed into a pretty storied history that Kuno Whitmer certainly hopes to join. Ron Fellows, that amazing outside pass on the last lap for the win in 06, 07, Eric Kern, one of the great names of World Challenge. 2 years ago, Brandon Davis, and last year, James Safronis. And so there's nobody better, folks, to take us around the track on our Racekeeper track lap.
Well, here we are, start finish, coming down for your entrance into turn 1. This is your top speed, well over 150 miles an hour. And coming into the braking zone, you're hitting the brakes as hard as possible, getting the car slowed down, but getting off the brakes to carry the speed through 1 into turn 2 and 3, which is the fountain. You've got to set the car up after turn 2 to get out of 3 around the fountain to get a nice run into 4. There's a lot of momentum that needs to be carried through turn 4 and into turn 5. As you get into turn 5, you have a crowned corner exit where the car wants to slide out towards the wall, so you have to be real careful on your throttle application, but getting a nice, strong run into turn 6. Hard on the brakes. Again, releasing the brakes not to overslow the car, but get back on the power, and the car wants to track all the way out to the wall in turn 7. It's a sharp right-hander along that sets you up for the back straight. You got to get a good exit out of here because it's a great passing zone into turn 9, which is a hard right-hander. Second gear in our Porsche, hard on the brakes into turn 9. And then you got to get back on the power and around turn 10 to get that car set up for turn 11, the most important corner on this track. Turn 11 is a first gear corner to get that launch onto the front straightaway.
And the entire track is public road, so there's a crown to the road surface, so many times exiting a turn right as you feed throttle, the track falls away, drops off camber. The challenges on this track are immense. Then exaggerate that by running 3 classes as opposed to 1. Keep in mind, touring cars have never run here previously. The crowd has always wanted them. Finally, we're able to do that. Plus, we add in GTS, so you have 3 winners in 1 race. So it's going to be crowded on the track, and the question is, as we start the 3rd race of the season for the drivers, what do you think about it? Well, we polled a few. Here's what they had to say.
You know, it's just been awesome to be out here at the age of 18. I couldn't ask for anything more. Being out here with people I've been watching race on TV for multiple years, it's just amazing.
Standing start, very new. 3 different classes, extremely new.
They're faster down the straights, but they're similar in the braking zones.
Now I've got emails from fans saying the Volvo's so cool, it's awesome. I never thought about a Volvo being a race car.
I've learned. It's going to be fun.
And with 3 classes, that means 3 pole sitters. Kuno Whitmer overall. There's Tyler McQuarrie, a rookie in GTS, and Nick Whitmer in the touring cars. The 2 brothers, first time a brother tandem has ever sat on pole in 2 classes in the same race in World Challenge history. And speaking of World Challenge history, this is something very unique to this series. It's the march to the grid. The manufacturers get to fly their colors. Beautiful models do that for them. And the fans are invited down to walk with the cars that they love on the way to the grid. And another thing that might be attracting them is a new owner of the series, the rhythm guitarist from Aerosmith, Brad Whitford, and his driver, Ron Fellows.
Long time away from World Challenge. Last time was a Cadillac, now it's a Corvette, which is kind of familiar. New team. Kind of a cool story with the team, with the guy from Aerosmith.
Yeah, you know, for a guy who's just trying to dust the rust off on occasion, this is a cool deal. With Krager Wheels and team owners Brad Whitford of Aerosmith fame and Nick Short, and it's a Corvette. Why would I not want to do it? So the opportunity to come and do, a few World Challenge races again. It's a fun series, and to get an opportunity to run at Long Beach again, where we've had some success with Cadillac in the past, and this is a truly fantastic street circuit to race, and generally races pretty well. So we're excited to be back, and very much looking forward to popping in on occasion.
Boy, when he does, it's usually spectacular, as is the march to the grid as it continues. You can see the flag girls now making the presentation of the manufacturer colors on the start line. The series represented as well. And you know what? The teams are going for some pretty spectacular hardware here. These drivers are excited. The MTM Special Ops Watch, part of it. There is the great trophy. And speaking of guys who visit World Challenge from time to time, one of the greats pilots this beautiful machine. His name is Boris Said. You may have seen him in a couple other series of note as well. And when we come back, we'll have a word with Boris Said. Versus coverage of the World Challenge is brought to you by Toyo Tire, the official tire of World Challenge, and by Bondurant, the official driving school of World Challenge. Welcome back to Long Beach, everybody. It is an incredible venue. If you've never been here in person before, make it a vacation weekend and come out to the Roar by the Shore. There is some awfully exciting stuff that unfolds on the mean streets of the beach. Thursday Night Thunder, some great shows. The crowd is immense and enthusiastic, and they come out to watch some pretty spectacular drivers, along with some pretty spectacular sights as well. And keep in mind, we were talking about Boris Said, this is a man who can drive just about everything, from sports cars to Cup, and Tom visited with him.
Let's talk about Davis. Let's talk about the returning champion. Let's talk about having fun.
It's great to be back with Mike. We won the Trans Am Championship a few years ago. Long Beach has always been a battle of the streets between all different cars, so you're going to get a good race today. A lot of fenders, a lot of happy people, a lot of unhappy people, but one thing for sure, you're going to get a lot of action.
Thanks, Boris.
Awesome. Boy, he does put on an absolutely spectacular show. That Trans Am winning year was superb indeed. We talked earlier about MTM Special Ops watches, but they're very involved with Nick Asayan in the real-time racing program, with a program that is very near and dear to Nick Asayan's heart, and it really came to the front this weekend.
Special Operations Warrior Foundation is a great charity we've supported for about 5 years. And the men and women that are special ops guys or women, Delta Force, Marine Recon, Navy SEALs, that are killed in action, we help put their kids through college, whether it's Embry-Riddle, welding school, or Harvard Law. It doesn't make a difference. We also give them a counselor. We're going to have some Navy SEALs here today that are supporting us, and we've got one of the families of a gentleman that was killed in Iraq in 2004. Unfortunately, for a short time tomorrow, I'm not going to be here to see them. I'm taking a chopper down to San Diego, playing in a flag football game between qualifying and the race and making it back. So hopefully we'll get back in time, win the race, throw the confetti, and then be able to embrace these great folks that are protecting our freedom here at the track.
That is a very special story indeed, and a great, great program. All right, you can see the cars now have taken their spots on the starting grid as we get ever closer to the start of this third round of the 2010 World Challenge Championship. And it is time for those special words.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The legendary Bob Bondurant sends the field on its way. Looking forward to this race, to be sure. A couple of great onboard looks here. courtesy of Racekeeper. Big race for Global Motorsports Group, so Ziegler and Crescentini will carry some of the onboard cameras. There you see a couple of the cars that were in the big parade lap. The Bondurant Corvette, the Optima Batteries Corvette. A lot of pomp and circumstance, well-deserved here in World Challenge at the beach. Here's your grid. Kuno Whitmer, third pole, first in GT, and alongside him, one of the greats, Randy Popes. Then Brandon Davis, last year's winner, and 05 champ, Andy Pilgrim. Boris Sett and Dino Crescentini fill out row 3. Row 4, Ron Fellows, the winner in 06, with last year's winner, James Sifronis. Then it is Jeff Courtney and Jason Daskalos, both in Vipers. Then Steve Ott in the beautiful Nissan GTR, and Pat Lindsay, first year running in GT. Up next, Ron Morgan and Tommy Dreese, who's running a Mustang for the big ACS Express team. Tony Rivera and Tony Gaples. Next up, then Nick Mancuso in the beautiful V12 Aston Martin, last year's Rookie of the Year in GT, Bill Ziegler, Brent Holden, and Charles Morgan. In your next row, in row 11, it is Fred Roberts, teammate to Daskalos, and your GTS pole sitter, the rookie Tyler McQuarrie. Peter Cunningham, the points leader. Nick Kasayan, his teammate, fill out row 12. Row 13, Mike Pettiford and Gary Tolar running a GTS Global Motorsports Group Porsche. Row 14, Charles Espelov filling in for Pat Dempsey, and your touring class pole sitter, Nick Whitmer. Then Robert Stout, the points leader, and Eric Meyer in the Mazda. Then row 16, Don Gardner and Scott Cuny in the Pontiac Solstice. Row 17, Kevin Marshall and Tommy Chen. And in row 18, it's Dale Loxo driving an Acura RSX. He has had some mechanical problems. Not sure whether he'll be able to make the start. Now, Kyle Kelly, this was a big story. Fourth in the first practice, had a great day going, but look at this crash, folks. You saw the speed that he went off at. Watch it again. I mean, an immense off. You can see him lose it. The car does a couple of tank slappers, almost unabated speed, and that was some of the body work that was left from the car as they towed the car out and back. You can see him sitting there. He was amazingly okay. The car, however, not able to make the race. So, that is your starting lineup. It is Sports Car Wars, is what we're talking about right here at Long Beach.
This isn't racing, this is Sports Car Wars.
We're back to the Toyo Tires Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. Some of the great views and buildings and apartments here at Long Beach. Love to have one of those, that's for sure. And we are ready to go. The cars are on the grid, and we've got some more great onboard looks. And Tom Natchew.
Racekeeper provides us with all of our onboard looks, also with some valuable data acquisition as well. Dino Crescentini starts at P6. He's in the top left. Take a look at Ron Fellows, P7 in that Kragar Corvette. And then we've got Nick Whitmer's view. He's P28 in the touring car class. Also in the touring car class, in the Samaritan's Feet Mazda RX-8, there's Eric Meyer in car number 32.
So we'll be enjoying some of those onboard looks, and we're about to enjoy them for real as we're about to go racing here at Long Beach. The roar by the shore is about to pick up the volume. The lights are on. When they go out, we go racing. Round 3 is underway. And again, a little bit of a bobble by Randy Popes off the line. Whitmer in that Woodhouse Performance Viper on the pole. And the field, as I said, a record entry streaming down in to turn 1. A great start by Tyler McQuarrie, by the way, folks. And there we go. Whitmer hangs on, and you can see Popes faded badly at that launch. Bit of a problem. Drops to the 9th spot from outside of the front row. Not the way they wanted their race to get going.
Quite odd for the Volvos not to get a great start with that all-wheel drive and those turbocharged cars. There he is in the left, dropping more spots as he gets taken around by the Nissan GTRs. And now down the inside, there goes Tony Gaples. Something really bad happening with Randy Popes' Volvo.
Now the field's starting to sort out a little bit. Little bump right there. James Sifronis getting a bit of a nudge with the number 57 of Pat Lindsay, and Dino Crescentini there in 4th. Now he qualified, started 6th, up to 4th at this point. Now Popes, whatever it was, looks to be clearing up as we hop on board for a game streamer on board with Dino Crescentini. This key run down into turn 9.
Second fastest place on the track. As you can see, Randy Popes hanging on for dear life as Ron Fellows dicing it with the number 99 car. That's the Toyo Tires Viper of Jeff Courtney. So let's keep an eye on these Volvos as we go, Greg. Something smells rotten in Denmark.
Well, that was a nasty
Sweden as we go.
push. Yeah, Sweden it would be, wouldn't it? That was a nasty push that Randy had down into turn 9 that he just could not get that thing to turn, so he is definitely fighting some issues. Beautiful shot of this great field. Oh, Petey Cunningham, the hood has popped up, laying across the windshield, but boy, it happened at an opportune time for him to be able to make it into pit lane. See if we can pick up what happened here.
Well, Petey Cunningham didn't get a great start. Actually, Nick Hussain able to get by him, and as you can see, had to be some contact to release that hood. And when you can't see, you can't see. And as you say, it happened just before the hairpin. He's able to go straight into the pits, and for a rare pit stop. There are no pit stops in World Challenge, folks. This is definitely unplanned, and they've got a big issue.
Well, you can see some damage to the front of that car, so there was indeed some contact. Good look there at Kuno Whitmer and that Woodhouse Performance Viper, with Davis chasing him hard right now. But up front, clear track, and this is when you've got opportunity. Once again, this is not a doubleheader weekend, Tom. As we watch what's going on with Petey Cunningham, you don't have to save the car and be a little careful because you've got another race tomorrow. This is let it go. These guys are just trying to rip it off and get him back into the fray.
A 10-millimeter bolt hanging on for dear life on the hood. There's Ron Fellows in the Krager Corvette. As you can see, he's all over the back of Patrick Lindsay, and Jeff Courtney not giving up. He's right there with Ron Fellows through the hairpin.
Such a key part of the track. Lindsay really letting the back end hang out as he fed it throttle, trying to get on board. That means this might be a shot for Ron Fellows, as Lindsay a little bit loose on the exit. Fellows now swings to the outside. And this is where you set up for the inside down into one. Lindsay wanted to come across. Fellows having none of it. He's got the inside line. You can see Safronis trying to do the same thing to Daskalos in that white and black Viper. Not quite done, but Fellows, tell you what, man, when it comes to street course racing, he is superb. His great history in the American Le Mans Series, many-time champion, certainly plenty of street races, and a beautiful pass on Pat Lindsay, a rookie in the GT cars. So an opportunity here to follow Ron Fellows, talk about going to school.
You know, Ron Fellows has got so much experience at this track and in this type of car, and Patrick Lindsay knows that. No way Patrick Lindsay was going to dice on lap 2 with Ron Fellows, but he's trying to hang on there. He's got another problem, and looking at that Viper in behind him, Pat Lindsay's just got to settle down and take this race to the end.
You just saw that great queue of cars, all those different manufacturers. There's a Lotus. Boy, I tell you, great mix here, and back up front, Kuno Whitmer, and now Brandon Davis starting to open the margin up and talk about that mix. A Viper, a Mustang, another Mustang, but then you've got all of the Porsches and the great variety here. I tell you, as you say, Tom, this is racing the way it should be. A great mix.
Brandon Davis is a past winner of this championship, and you know they got about 350 of their customers from ACS here. So it's very, very important that he does well. Take a look at Tony Rivera in the new Nissan GTR, working at the development of that. He's currently 16th. Ron Fellows now side by side with the number 14 car of James Safronis, and under power, he blows by him. Safronis not giving up on the right, not going to be able to make it work. He takes the position, and now we see him from the point of view of James Safronis. Beautiful pass, 2 in a row by Ron Fellows.
Yeah, he is on the move, and speaking of on the move, here's Tyler McQuarrie leading from pole in GTS in that beautiful Lotus XC Jazz. Great story. Last weekend ran the Pro Drift Championship, running turns 9, 10, and 11. Hops in this car, puts it on pole by a big margin over no less than Petey Cunningham, and on the start, the opening lap, he got up amongst some of the GT cars, and he said that earlier in the weekend, he said, this car through here, 1 to 6, said it's like driving a go-kart. It changes direction so well.
You know, his team wanted me to say that he drives like an angel. I don't know what that's all about. He's got a, obviously, car that's suited for the class, and the first time a Lotus has ever run inside World Challenge. Let's go back on board.
Wow, what a great move as we see Fellows. Now look, as Safronis trying to get underneath as well. Fellows went by Daskalos. Safronis followed him through the gap, and now Lindsay squeezes by Daskalos as well. Just some great action out there, and Daskalos dropping off just a little bit, but he got the best standing start on that opening lap. Watch this, up a bunch of spots, 5, I believe.
So the Ultimate Battery's best standing start is eligible for all the cars on the grid, but take a look at this start. Flat on the floor, shifting up through the gears, and now pulls alongside a Volvo that just isn't done in World Challenge. The Volvo all-wheel drive cars generally seem to have the power to get off the grid the best.
But it certainly seems here at the beach, the Viper V10, and that torque's giving him the launch. Here's your leaderboard. We'll be back. Today's coverage coverage of World Challenge is being brought to you by Optima Batteries, the official battery of World Challenge, and by Racekeeper, the official video data system of the World Challenge Championship. And we're back at the Toyo Tires World Challenge at Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. Good race going on, but for Petey Cunningham, a 5-time champ, not the race he wanted. Turns out he tinked into the back of his teammate Nick Hussein, who got a blinder of a start in the pack up in turn 1, and it did a little damage to the hood, and, well, he paid the price.
You know, running without a hood is definitely going to affect some of the aero on this car, but it's good to see that the real-time guys were actually able to get the thing off, and it doesn't appear that the handling is affected at all as he goes by Charles Espenlaub in that Mazda Speed 3 that was meant to be driven this weekend by Patrick Dempsey. He's back on the lead lap, and that is a testimony to his team at Real Time Racing. Nobody's planning a pit stop, but they were able to get him out there and get him back there competing.
And it's nice to see the Tri-Point team back in action. We've missed them a little bit in that Mazda. Meanwhile, Kuno Whitmer now starting to edge his way towards some traffic as he's coming up on the pole sitter in touring car, his brother, as we hop on the game streamer on board with Kuno. That is bro Nick up in front, and Nick obviously very attuned to that red and white Viper, stayed way out of the way, said, as you need, go on through. Now we'll see if that little Honda that's being fielded, built by HPD, fielded by Real Time, if he makes that a little bit wider for Davis to have to deal with. And one of the great stories this season is this young man, Robert Stout.
Robert Stout, an 18-year-old kid, but he doesn't come without any experience. He's got over 250 starts in karting, so this comes naturally to him. He's got the racecraft, he's got the experience, and in this brand new venue for him, in this Scion TC, it just seems like another day in the park for him. All by himself, running P1, Robert Stout doing a heck of a job for Don Gardner's racing team.
Well, if he hangs on and wins this, he'll become the youngest winner in World Challenge history. So there's something to play for on the line here. With Cone out on the track there.
Speaking of on the line.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what happens with a little aggressive curb hopping. Meanwhile, that's your leader. Here comes the GTS Porsche of Tolar, fielded by Global Motorsports Group, a neat story. And then Don Gardner, that is second place. So the two DG spec Scions right now running 1-2.
Don Gardner can't seem to keep mirrors on that thing. He lost the same mirror at St. Petersburg, but that gives you an idea how close quarters the racing really is. Gardner prepared a couple of great cars, tested him in another program, brings him to World Challenge, and straight into the box, those cars are fast.
Well, you know, in street circuit racing, your limit is extremely well and firmly defined.
Yes, it is. Concrete. In the form of some New Jersey barriers, you see Kuno Whitmer now slashing in front of him. These guys all have a lot of respect for each other, and in both drivers' meetings, they have talked about this extensively.
And frankly, the response has been great. I mean, the overtaking drivers have said the other drivers are being very, very aware of it. But speaking of overtaking, this is not different classes. That is Randy Pope's going around Dasclos, who's got damage to the back of the Viper in that diffuser area where they extract some of the air out of the back of the car. Meanwhile, back to your leader in GTS, Tyler McQuarrie. What a great story. You know, no drift driver, pro drift driver, has ever run the Long Beach Pro Drift Round and the World Challenge Pro race on the same weekend. A few have done the Celebrity Challenge. So this guy is looking to really put it together here. And right now, he is just checked out, Tom.
He's got to be wondering where everybody is. He's all by himself. He's like doing time attack laps here at Long Beach. And the only way he can locate himself is by getting a look at the screen every once in a while. But Tyler McQuarrie, great story. Love this car. Love this team. Love the program. I hope we see a lot more Lotuses involved in the GTS program in World Challenge.
Well, the interesting thing is they got this car all of 5 weeks ago, and they've really thrashed to get it put together, and they certainly have. Now, here comes Whitmer going by your touring car class leader, Stout. So Whitmer now working his way up through the traffic, but again, you can see how very careful and aware everybody is being. Meanwhile, speaking of another guy who's on the move, the number 4 Centric Parts Stop Tech red and white Porsche with that black trim around the fender flares, Dino Crescentini, has been mounting a charge. You can see he's gone around Fellows and is working his way back up through the pack. We hop on board with Fellows as Crescentini got a little bit bottled up behind Tolar. Fellows now going to the outside. He knows this outside can work in turn 9, and he just drives right on by. Look at that. Dino Crescentini went, I'm not going to fight Fellows in this spot on the track. We'll sit back and see if we can get him somewhere else.
Yeah, Ron Fellows pulled an amazing move there a couple of years ago and finds that there's extra grip there. Meanwhile, Crescentini now teamed up with his teammate, the number 14 car of James Sofronis. Trouble for the 97 car. Tony Rivera in that Brass Monkey Racing car has come to a stop, spun the car, evidently, if you look at the tire marks, and having just a bit of trouble getting that thing refired.
Yeah, at St. Pete, they said their biggest issue, along with the cars being a bit heavy, as we take another look at Fellows, was overheating. And they've really worked, not just the engine, but because of that all-wheel drive and those very complex diffs and trannies that they worked on keeping the cooling down there. Nice thing here is the temperatures are down a little bit. Fellows, as he goes underneath Stout, as he tries to swing out for the corner, just about got into Stout. Stout realized it gave him all the room he could, and at the same time realized there were a couple more Global Motorsports Group Porsches to let slide through, and did that as well. Now, if you're a fan of World Challenge, and who isn't, you've got options to get behind the scenes. First of all, go to world-challengetv.com. You can check out some great in-car video, driver interviews, and watch this complete race and all of the World Challenge races online here. But, Tom, it doesn't stop there.
No, you go to world-challenge.com and you get all the news stories leading up to the events and all of the things that happen in between the events. Very important to keep in touch there as well.
And if you're big into social networking, check out the Facebook group. Search World Challenge, GT, GTS, Touring Car Series. Interact with other World Challenge fans. Post your race pictures and video. A good look here at our top three in each of our three divisions. One race, three winners. They're going at it here on the beach. We are back. Toyo Tires World Challenge in Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. Third round of the 2010 World Challenge Championship. And the action in all three classes continues. Great story there. Mike Pettiford, who started the season at St. Pete in a Pontiac Solstice, brings his Corvette. He's had some great runs in SCCA's National Championship runoffs. The interesting story with him, I think, is his best ever finish at World Challenge, 1992, Firebird National Race in the old B class. He loves World Challenge.
Yeah, Mike Pettiford is a great story. Out of Colorado, the Go For It Racing Schools, Pettiford's an enthusiast, and we're so glad to have him in World Challenge.
Did you see what he did right there? He knows he's not in this battle, and even in the busy fountain section, he moved offline a little bit to let some of these guys slide through. And following the action in GTS, you see there P.D. Cunningham, who, of course, won the opening two rounds and came in as the point leader, fighting back through the back. Here is Brandon Davis, who was the champion last year, thus the one on the car, won here in 08. They continue to develop that car, and talk about one sweet sound in V8.
Oh, it really, really is. Brandon Davis now going to do about 28 circle track starts for the rest of this season, so you can see where his career is tending to. Talk to Mike Davis about it. He says we're going to try to get that oval stuff going and see where it goes. And so Brandon Davis, a very versatile year this year. His teammate, Boris said, in that vividly colored, I don't know, it's greeny yellow, but don't stand too close to that. We don't know if it gives off radiation or not as of now.
Well, and Tom, unfortunately for one of his competitors, Tony Rivera, we get a report he's in pit lane. There he is. Hood is up on the car, and not sure what the problem is. Let's see if we can find out from team engineer Greg Fordahl.
The car basically just overheated, so he's cooling it off. The gearbox goes into a limp mode, takes away the power, takes away the gears for a little bit.
This is all part of the development program of any new car. We talked to Ron Stukenberg from Nissan Motorsports, the guy behind all of this. He understands that it's going to take some time to get these GTRs up to speed, but holy Hannah, when they do, you're in for a real treat, folks.
Absolutely, and speaking of up to speed, Dino Crescentini has come alive, folks. He is starting an absolute charge through the pack all over the back of Ron Fellows. You can see Fellows gets out of that bit just a little bit stronger, but boy, Dino is closing up on him, and you can see he's distancing himself from James Sofronis, who was all over the back of Dino not long ago. So Dino's winding it up.
You know, this is the kind of thing that Dino Crescentini really loves. He and Steve Ruiz, the Stop Tech Break's been together a long time. Dino's now focused on Ron Fellows. He's having fun at Long Beach. Couldn't have worked out any better for Dino. He's racing one of the best in the business, and this is going to be his highlight from the weekend.
And after what happened to him here at Long Beach last year with that bad crash and ended up missing a few races, this has got to feel so sweet for Dino. And a big spin. Tommy Dreesy in the Shrek Forever After in 3D. Sun Microsystems machine. Bit of a loop. Gets away with it this time. Doesn't even look like he got into anything, Tom. He continues. Let's go and see if we can find out what happened.
Tommy Dreesy getting queued up here. Comes around, goes around backwards. Look at the Volvo and Bill Ziegler. Now, Nick Mancuso and the Aston Martin will come around and get a big eyeful of that. Nick Mancuso did a good job not to collect him up.
Meanwhile, Kuno Whitmer continues to just motor away up front. He is on the verge of having a superb weekend. As we said, had the pole. He's thus far led every lap. If he hangs on to win, and well, if he can throw in a fast lap to boot, that's what they call the clean sweep. We haven't seen one so far this season in GT, and he is having himself a very solid run right now.
You know, Kuno Whitmer's already proved himself to be an outstanding touring car driver. I can tell you, Ralph Giles and Gary Johnson from Dodge Motorsports very happy with their selection to drive the 13 car, Greg.
Well, he's just proven to be a fine driver, period. But you know what? It doesn't matter how good the driver is, how good the car is. If the tires don't work, you don't have a quick car. And Stan Chen from Toyo Tires tells us why they're here.
That any consumer can go into one of our Toyo authorized dealers, buy them, put them on their cars, and drive home. So, which makes it ideal for and more relevant for fans to appreciate both the series and the tires. We developed the tire with performance in mind, but we also, again, want it to be available for consumers to use. We have tires ranging from ultra high performance tires, road race tires, all season high performance tires. The R888 is definitely one of our pioneer road race tires. We also have the R1R tire, which is an extreme performance tires that can be actually used for autocross. It's very popular in that series. We also have the T1R tire. The Proxis T1R is used for an ultra high performance tire. And we have the Proxis 4 tire, which is an all-season high-performance tire. We use a lot on tuner vehicles. So we have a full range of tires that will fit any consumer's vehicle preference or actual vehicle.
Well, there's no better place to test tires than on a racetrack. You get more data really in a short period of time than you can anywhere else, and that's why these guys come and play here. And drivers like Nick Whitmer, that's something they appreciate very, very much, and certainly anybody who buys a Toyo tire on the street, they like that for the safety of the family.
Well, naturally, and you know, it is the production tire. It's the exact tire that they sell at the dealership, so it's not like they use the development they get from building a slick and then add it to the tire. It is the tire. Canadian Nick Whitmer, the number 93 car, all the way from Montreal, and his brother is starting to come up on him as these guys give each other a nice wide berth. They don't want to make history here, Greg, by being the only two brothers to take each other out at Long Beach. So they definitely have some good communication. Now here comes Steve Ott from the Brass Monkey Racing team as Steve brings it down pit lane, and you can hear the car in its pit lane mode. I dare say that what they've got is a gearbox problem, and Steve Ott says bringing it in to have Fordall and the crew take a look at it and continue their test session here at the beach.
Well, you know what? We talked about the car being quite a bit heavier than the other cars, and that's because it's so much more stock at this point, and that puts loads on everything, and that's where you generate heat. And so they've just got this sort of vicious cycle that's unfolding right now. Went right to the heating and cooling system in that car, so that's the issue. Dreesy is back underway, but the guy that you talked about having the big eyeballs coming around and spotting Dreesy, now Mancuso, all over the back of him, and that is one sweet sounding V12 in that Aston Martin, and he's trying to run down Tommy Dreesy.
You know, the paddock is wide open for all fans to visit in any World Challenge race. When you come to the next World Challenge race, make sure you take a good look at that car. It is beautiful in every respect, and that V12 does, Greg, make a fantastic noise.
Especially when it's bouncing between the barriers and the buildings. It just puts up a howl and an echo that is mighty spectacular. And now, nice move there as Dreesy able to put a lap car from a different class in between he and Mancuso. Mancuso ought to eat him up now as Whitmer working through some of the other classes as well. He has got an absolutely great race going. He is on rails right now. One, he's got a bit of a margin which allows you to be very precise and careful in traffic, but he hasn't put a wheel wrong.
You go back to Davis, and the margin is just a little over 2 seconds at this point, as Brandon Davis, as a past winner of this race, not going to give up. So Kuno has to work the traffic, has to make sure he keeps his head down because he's getting pressure, and that's what they're talking to him about on the radio, Greg. Your P1, the gap back to Brandon Davis is so much, and Kuno's focused on that. Get a look at Eric Myers, number 32 car, with a little front end damage there, and that Samaritan's feet machine from Zowie Racing, and there goes Lotus. Don Gardner again with his mirror hanging off the side of it, not doing him a lot of good there. There's Tyler McQuarrie in the GTS Lotus, now getting a little bit of traffic as he goes by and puts a lap on Scott Cuny in the number 40 Pontiac Solstice.
Yeah, again, we talked about that car, that Lotus, just about 5 weeks old, and they're thrashed to get it ready. After practice, they actually had to do a gearbox change on the car. They broke fourth gear. The only one they had was a stock gearbox. They put it in it, and Tyler went, the gearing was actually better, and that's why it just hooked up for that qualifying run. And there you get a look again at young Robert Stout. What a great story that is. That E3 spark plugs Lucas Oil DG Spec Scion continues to lead the touring class again. If he hangs on, there's that 18 on the car means something. That's his age. And if he hangs on, he'll become the youngest winner in World Challenge history. And he has shown a racing head on those shoulders far smarter than that age would indicate.
There's two P1s, P1 GT, P1 Touring, as they go side by side, giving each other some of the respect that we talked about before. Most motorsport fans are familiar with Ken Stout. That's Robert's father. He was here on Friday, had to go out and do an off-road race for television all the way to Arizona. Got a midnight flight back here. Did not want to miss the first opportunity that Robert Stout had to win a World Challenge race.
Well, if Robert keeps driving like he is, Ken may be in for a very pleasant day of travel, that's for sure. Well, we're just about at the halfway point here at the Toyo Tires World Challenge in Long Beach. Here's a look at the leaders in our three classes. Whitmer, Davis, and Boris said in GT and GTS. McQuarrie, Essayant, and Pettiford. And in touring cars, Mr. Stout, Meyer, and Nick Whitmer. We're back once again to the Toyo Tires World Challenge of Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. P.D. Cunningham continuing to auger his way around the track, sans hood at this point. And you can see, I believe that's teammate Nick Essayant. That's right behind him, but is technically in front of him on the track, certainly. So, but P.D. Cunningham right now looking to accrue some points. And we've got more of the Dino Crescentini show as he continues to hound Ron Fellows. Fellows, as you would expect, Tom, not proving real easy to get by, and it's simply because of pace. He's not out there blocking, but Dino has been relentless.
You know, it's all about traffic, too. The only time that Dino really has a good look down the inside of Ron Fellows is when they reach traffic, and it's who's better at that moment, at that time. And now you see Dino Crescentini has a little look down the inside, held up just a little bit by a touring car, and this is the kind of action he's going to need to count on to get by that beautiful yellow Corvette.
Well, and look at this move down to the inside, and that may have been exactly what he was waiting for and what you were talking about, a pass for fourth as we hop on board with a game streamer on board with Ron. Is normally the car with the horsepower does the better job in traffic, but if he gets balked at all, a car with good brakes and stop-tap brakes on that Global Motorsports Group Porsche has always been effective, and boy did Dino pounce.
Dino Crescentini has an opportunity to consolidate this lead as they come back to the straightaway. Got to get a good launch off of the hairpin because you know Ron Fellows has the horsepower to come. And he does. A brilliant launch off the hairpin, and that's going to define this opportunity to consolidate that lead. Dino Crescentini came shooting off that corner, and you can see the advantage that he's got towards the end of the straightaway, Greg.
You could hear him pick the throttle up a good 6-7 feet before Fellows did, and that's the only way that he stays in front of that V8 on that straight. I mean, Dino doing exactly what he needed to do, and Ron going,
nothing I got for you.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that he can do. Now that he's got that space ahead of him, he can start to work on him. And look who's ahead. Boris said is not going to make it easy for Dino Crescentini. And you remember back at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, these guys have a score to settle. You know, they had it coming together out there, and now Dino has an opportunity for payback.
Yeah, he certainly does. And look how quickly he has distanced himself from Fellows. So that Porsche has really come alive here in the second half of the race. And look at the ground he makes up on Boris under braking. And of course, the bigger the horsepower, a little bit more weight the cars carry, and that tends to have its effect on tires and brakes. Let's watch this move again by Dino, Tom.
Down the inside, he's on the brakes. Ron Fellows is trying to get a better run off the corner here and doesn't really see Dino coming. So Dino using those stop tech brakes effectively to get past Ron Fellows and to go after Boris Said.
Good look at our game streamer replay, and look how quickly now Crescentini has run down Boris. He gets another good launch out of the hairpin, but now Boris in that V8, we'll see if that horsepower is going to be able to pull him clear. It does. 2 lengths, 3 lengths, 4 lengths. Now watch what happens under braking when they get down into turn 1. Boris has that margin. You see how much sooner he's on the brakes. Look at Dino coming up hard, and not quite enough, but he made up a good 4 to 5 lengths just under braking. Well, I'll tell you what, Dino, I think it's inevitable he is going to sneak through. What a drive he's putting on.
You know, at the back part of the course, Dino definitely has an advantage. That Porsche just a little bit more nimble, but the story is going to be told on the straightaway, I think, as we see this battle starting to heat up. Two fantastic drivers, a great venue, two different marks. That's why we call this Sports Car Wars, baby.
It is indeed that, and you can see a couple of times we've seen the cars falling away on those off-camber moments I'm talking about. And I'll tell you what, if you're a fan, Tom, there is a way you can actually get involved in the series.
Well, we did it last year, and it was an enormous hit. It's the Fantasy League presented by Bondurant. If you want to get involved, you have an opportunity to win a Bondurant Racing School. Do world-challenge.com/fantasy league and play. Lots of people do, and who knows, you could be the next guy who gets a free school at Bondurant.
Well, I believe we've got a couple of guys we've been watching who went through Bondurant, so it's apparently a fairly good school.
Oh, yeah, who hasn't been to the Bondurant Racing School? Well, other than you and I. You know what Bob Bondurant's doing right after this race weekend? Getting married on the start-finish line of his own racetrack, then going over to Monaco and redoing that ceremony over there on the start-finish line of the Grand Prix course. Pretty cool.
And Dino once again showing the nose to Boris, and again Boris denies him. You know what? Bob's earned that. What a great career he's had, and I'll tell you what, his driving school, as you pointed out, has produced so many people who now are at the very top of their game in road racing and have been over the years. And boy, right now Dino doing everything he can to try and get around. That was an interesting look at the line that Boris is running there. You see him really square up that corner, and while Dino just sort of lets it float out, Boris turns hard, gasses it, gives him a couple of quick lengths.
You know, Boris is no stranger to this, and he knows how to get the best out of the Mustang on a flying lap. He also knows how to get contact. Boris said just a little slip on the brakes, and ever the opportunist, Dino Crescentini went straight through. Now he's P3, Greg.
That was incredible, and you could see Dino, the minute that Boris back end stepped out that little bit, Dino went straight to the apex, pal. Let's see what happens here.
That's what you call a major league race car driver right there, pal.
Absolutely, and Boris, actually, watch it right here again, that little bobble you're talking about.
We pick it up with a Game Streamer replay, and Boris did a good job just to catch it. He only had one move left when he saw Dino go down the inside. He's going to try to knock him into next week. Didn't work.
Nope, Dino is through, and that, as you said, puts him now up into the podium with a third spot. And again, look how quick he's distancing Boris, and Ron Fellows behind him. Dino, that car right now is on rails. It is dialed and hooked up, and any other cliche you can throw at it here, it's working.
Well, they've got a flair for the dramatic, and speaking of the dramatic, we had a driver who started off the weekend but had to go back to work on his TV show, Patrick Dempsey, Greg.
Yeah, an unfortunate development as we watch Kuno Whitmer, who's putting in a star maker drive here. Pat Dempsey, pretty established star.
I did the celebrity race about 5 years ago, so I'm familiar with the track. I forgot how tight and technical it is. Very unforgiving, very slick. But challenging. It's a great event. I mean, it's been here since '74, this event, and it's just the history here for this type of road course. And, you know, anytime you're out competing with these guys, you get a chance to follow them. If I can stay with him, I'm going to learn a lot. And you know, I never lose the awe and the amount of respect I have for these guys and their talent. And you appreciate it more and more every time you're out competing with them. And I have to say, they've been extremely kind with their knowledge. And if I have a question, they actually take the time to answer it. And I have so much respect for that. Challenge, great group of drivers involved. I'm excited, you know.
And unfortunately, it didn't come to play, but Pat Dempsey is one of the most dedicated people in terms of his racing, and when he couldn't make it, the team relied on an old favorite.
Once again, filling in for Patrick. You know, he had some other things to do with his day job, brain surgery or whatever. I don't know. He does something like that, I think. You know, worked with him for a long time, was here kind of helping him get used to the series. Fortunately, I'll be able to fill in today for the race, so kind of excited. Never been here before, and qualified this morning, and it's a great place. You know, the venue's awesome, and you know, happy to be here helping Mazda out, and hopefully we'll have a good race and maybe get a win for him.
Well, we want to make it clear, folks, that Pat Dempsey's not actually doing brain surgery. He's doing fake brain surgery, and that is approved by the FDA.
Exactly. Meanwhile, problems for Pat Lindsay in the Horton Sloan Securities True Speed Porsche. Problems in pit lane. There is your leader in the GTS category, Tyler McQuarrie, having himself a spectacular day as well. Here are your leaders in each of the three classes. Overall continues to be Kuno Wittmer. He's having a great day. More when we come back. Today's coverage of World Challenge is being brought to you by Invisible Glass, the official car care product of World Challenge, and by Sunoco, the official fuel of the World Challenge Championship. We are back at the Roar by the Shore, the Toyo Tires World Challenge at Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. Absolutely glorious day. And you can see, one, why it's such an event and a happening, but two, why it's such a great race. We've got a good one unfolding as we hop on board right now with Andy Pilgrim in one of the K-Pax Volvos, but struggling a bit today, Tom, running in the 10th spot. Bit of a surprise for these all-wheel drive cars.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. They didn't get the launch that they needed, and they're not running up front, which is rare for these Volvos. Two great drivers, Andy Pilgrim and Randy Post. You know they're going to bring their A-game, but the K-Pax Racing team just a little bit off song this weekend, and as I say, that doesn't happen very often.
Well, they split the fast laps at the two street races in St. Pete, so you know they're good on it. So just something off with their game today. Not for Tyler McQuarrie. What a great story this is, as this pro drift driver is made to switch to road racing and proving to be very adept at that. And it doesn't hurt that he's got a pretty good car from a darn good team.
Well, we've learned from the pit lane that his team has lost radio communication with Tyler McQuarrie, so he's literally out there all by himself doing laps and reading the flags. They do have a pit board out, so they let him know he's still P1. He's driving a heck of a race here on the beach.
Boy, is he ever, and he has continued to stretch that margin. Meanwhile, oh, look at this move by Ron Fellows as he comes up and underneath to put Nick Mancuso down a lap. That is why Ron Fellows has achieved what he has in racing, decisive in traffic. When the opportunity is there, he can pounce, and did an absolutely beautiful job there as he's slowly reeling Boris Set in. But more concern, I think, for Ron is James Safronis is closing it up just a little bit on the back end there. And meanwhile, there's Dino Crescentini, and he's gone around Davis. Crescentini is picked up second spot. He had dropped back to sixth. An unbelievable charge for Dino Crescentini up into P2. That's an amazing drive.
Yeah, we call this sports car wars, and we're starting to see some of the spoils of war all over the track. There's debris and all of it offline. Full course yellow, not a factor here at Long Beach so far, and that in and of itself, Greg Creamer, is remarkable.
Busy street course like this, you bet. And Kuno Wittmer leading the charge. A great drive. It's been a busy weekend for Kuno. One of the reasons being that Dodge has a huge presence in World Challenge this year, and in the Expo Center, an even bigger presence. And we talked with Kuno about that earlier.
There's definitely I see a mock-up of my car up on a trailer. I don't know how they got it up there, but anyways, I don't know if it's a real car. Well, there's an ACRX, which I helped develop throughout the wintertime. We did about, I don't know how many, hundreds of laps, 10 days of testing, really developed it from scratch to what it is right there, the final product. There is a Challenger over there as well. I mean, you look at a Challenger, I'm 27 years old. Would I get one? Of course I would. Would my father get one? Of course he would also. I mean, that's for sure. He used to drive those things back in the 70s. With my previous history, there was one PR guy. Now there's 10. So it's definitely, the pressure's there, but I've always been a guy who works well under pressure. I mean, I'm able to separate the two. The chemistry I have going on with the team is extraordinary. It's one of the best chemistries I've ever had in my life with a race team. So if I wouldn't have that, then forget it. We wouldn't be where we are. P2, it's the first practice. We all know that. No problem at all. There's a Mustang ahead of us right now. There's a Mustang behind us. That's fine. It's first practice. Where it will count will be the finish line on Sunday. That's definitely where it counts.
Well, this team and Kuno were quick right from the get-go, and it's never stopped. With that great run in practice, they put it on pole. They've now led every lap of the race. He just turned fast lap of the race thus far, so having a great day. But in terms of battles, this is the one we're watching right now. Boris Set and Ron Fellows. And boy, have these two guys raced each other over the years. Some of their battles in Trans Am back in the day were stuff of legends. And Fellows, as we're on board with him in that Kragar CRP Corvette, really hounding Boris said in that ACS Sun Microsystems machine at beautiful Mustang.
You know, this is a tribute to the guys from SCCA Pro Racing. Corvette, Mustang, Porsche, all running on the same number. The parity they've created between all of these different marks, and there's a lot of them in World Challenge, is fascinating to watch when you actually get out on the track and start racing.
Oh, did you see Safronis there? I think he was so glued to that battle up there that he actually maybe missed his braking point a little bit. And there's Ron Fellows going, I'm here.
Buddy,
Don't make a mistake like that. Boris missed the apex there a bit. Tom, let's see. Is Ron going to try and stuff it down the inside? No.
No, he knows that all that's going to do is take them both out. And they've got to be cognizant of the 14 car behind them as well. Not going to give anything up as you see that Nissan pulled off to the side. This battle ensues, and now traffic coming into the picture, and this is going to play a part.
Boy, Ron got a good drive off the corner, but he's stuck on the wrong side of the track, and plus traffic. Stout recognizes it, lets him through. Ron does the over-under. Boy, did he get a nice drive, and did he set that up beautifully and squeezed, obviously set down to the inside entering that turn, Tom, and that just slowed down his exit. Safronis right there. What a battle we have for fourth.
You know, you see the pass in that corner, but he actually started setting that up in the fountain turn. That only comes with experience. You can see just a little bit of a slip and a bump as they're down into turn number 2. Boris said, waving his hand, saying, Ron, get off my back. I'm going as fast as I can.
Absolutely, and of course, as soon as Fellows goes by, Boris looks in his mirrors, as you said, no rest at all, because there is that blue and white Global Motorsports Group Porsche, and you know how much this race means to James Safronis, coming from nearby Newport Beach with his race shop and that amazing Global Motorsports facility close by.
You know, he's been a winner here before. I don't think he can get back to the front, but he's certainly interested in getting by, Boris said, and Boris certainly not going to roll over, just like he didn't for Ron Fellows. This battle for P4 has been great for the last 5 laps.
And watching Safronis now trying to wrest away that 5th spot from Boris said, these 3 cars, as you pointed out, in this great battle. And you're talking about, Toyo Tires does a lot of their testing and development on the track. Well, GMG makes World Challenge suspension components, and that's where they test and develop them right here, like on the mean streets of Long Beach. We have 4 to go. Do not go away. We're back to the final few laps of the 3rd round of the World Challenge Championships, the Toyo Tires World Challenge at Long Beach, presented by Bondurant. That gentleman, Kuno Whitmer, is he on the way to a clean sweep? It's looking pretty good right now. Don't want to jinx the young man, but what a day he is having. And we talked about it earlier, Tom, that we knew the guy could drive. We certainly knew what he could do in touring cars, but boy, already he has proven to be something very special in these big cars.
Well, the boss is in town. Ralph Giles has made a trip up to Long Beach to see this team and how they've progressed. They've come straight out of the box fast and doing a great job. Now here's Dino Crescentini, who really has had the most exciting day of all of the GT drivers. While Kuno has basically driven off into the distance, Dino has had to work very hard for that position, Greg.
Yep, qualified 6, was mired. And Ron Fellows, a huge plume of smoke, a lot of it coming out of the cockpit. Remember, he had been running in 4th, and there's an onboard shot, and you can see that looks like the Golden Gate Bridge.
You can see it start in here, and it looks like it's coming from the back, maybe an overheated diff, but Ron Fellows realizes that it's no good, and he has to pull over, sticks his hand out the window to let traffic know that he's pulling over, and there is the safety worker. Doesn't know exactly where to stick the fire extinguisher quite yet. There are no flames. I think that diff just blew up.
Well, it certainly has been put through its paces today, no question. Look at Kuno. That car still throwing it around. He is in the groove, as they say. And when you hit this part, when you're just in that zone and you can get the car to do the exact same thing every time, place it where you want, throw it around just a little bit, it's a joy.
You never want to see the checkered flag. And what's not to love about this car is the debris flag comes out owing to Ron's blow up. You got a V10 car, beautiful red and white in the Dodge colors, shoots flames on the downshifts. What's not to like about this brand new Dodge Viper for Kuno Whitmer?
Absolutely. There's Ron as Kuno goes by him, getting out, helping the corner marshal. Ron Fellows, one of the two Jensen Motorsports to be sure. And Kuno Whitmer letting people know he is going to be a playa for the GT title here this season with an absolutely spectacular drive. Right to the walls, absolute confidence. It is just fun watching him.
You know, when you're in the zone like this, you never want the checkered flag to come out. You just want to keep doing it. Now we go to the GTS category leader. This is Tyler McQuarrie. He's been a story all weekend long. A really charming, lovely young guy. He's a pro drifter. Now he's broken the ranks of pro road racing, and I just can't get enough of that little Lotus. It's so much fun to watch.
I got to tell you, this is a fun stat. If he hangs on and wins this, talk about joining some august company. He will be the first Lotus to win anything at Long Beach since Mario Andretti in 1977 in Formula One. Not too bad. And this guy, another great story. If he hangs on, he will become the youngest winner in World Challenge history at 18 years, a month or so in a couple of days. I mean, just an amazing story for Robert Stout as well. Meanwhile, Kuno Whitmer, your overall and GT leader, you see the white flag should come out. There it flies. 1 lap to go for the young Quebecois.
Well, you know, he's done such a great job in the past 4 years in World Challenge. He really, really deserves this. I can't think of a more personable young man, but intensity when it's required, he's definitely there and up for it.
He is truly just a nice kid, too. That's one of the nice things. You visit with him, and he's just down to earth. Here comes Tyler McQuarrie now, picking up his white flag. So 1 lap to go for him in that ultra-quick LPL Motorsports Lotus Exige. Boy, we hope to see more of them as the season unfolds. What a great story.
Pat DiNatale, chief steward for the World Challenge Sports Car Wars, chooses not to throw the full course yellow to make this a local situation, and that's owing to Ron Fellows and his heads-up move, taking that car offline as soon as he knew he had a problem.
Yep, he's just an apex right now, and just drive around him and you're okay. So nice job there. And again, a big thanks to all of those volunteers, not just the course marshals. They're the obvious ones, but so many that come out and make an event like this possible. So a big thanks to them, certainly, and all the SCCA workers that are part of the World Challenge and come out and love this series. As Kuno Whitmer, last time through 9, now into one of the most famous turns in all of North American racing, the hairpin at Long Beach. Nick it down another gear, turn in, gentle, feed it easy, throttle, and here he comes. The last blast as he completes his roar by the shore. The checkered flag comes out, and Kuno Whitmer from pole gets the clean sweep. And as we're looking at the scoring monitors, Tom, he has done something pretty special. A record for pole, a record fast lap, and a record average speed for the 5 years here at Long Beach.
Trifecta?
Oh, yeah. How about perfection? We'll call it that.
Here's Tyler McQuarrie. His first ever World Challenge race, and this is very unique. You don't just enter and win, but Tyler McQuarrie has shown he's got the right stuff to compete.
And he drove it absolutely beautifully. What a great day for Tyler McQuarrie. Again, we hope for that. And Stout, once again, he feeds down through turn 8. Now that second longest straight in that beautiful Don Gardner spec, MAV TV, Lucas Oil, TC Cyan. First time a Cyan, if he hangs on, will have won in World Challenge competition as well. So lots of firsts unfolding here. And if he does, as we talked about, youngest winner ever in World Challenge history, he's got just a couple of corners to go.
Greg, it's a whole new day for World Challenge. Second race in, or actually round number 3, but 2 different venues with this combined style of racing. Everybody was speculating as to how it was going to be. I think that the guys from WC Vision and SCCA Pro Racing hit it out of the park. This is entertaining racing, and that's what it's really all about.
It truly is. What a fantastic race. Certainly, I mean, some of the battles in class, and Kuno Whitmer, you know what?
What do you think he's going to do now?
Well, you know, in Canada, they love their Tim Hortons, so I think he's doing some donuts.
You're darn right. It's not just about the coffee. It's about the donuts, too, as the celebration starts with Kuno Whitmer picking up his first win for Dodge Motorsports. A lot of people here this weekend who wanted to see that happen, and Kuno delivered. Tim Hortons, meanwhile, doesn't deliver.
That's right. Well said, my friend. Well said. Look at Kuno. Boy, fist pump out the window. Well deserved. And, you know, when you get an opportunity like this, and he had driven the Viper a couple of times in the past, but when you get a full season ride like this, to come through like this strongly, what an impressive day for Kuno Whitmer. A star in the making, to be sure. Here we go, our final results. Whitmer, Crescentini with that great drive from 6th to 2nd. Davis brings it home on the podium. Randy Pope's able to hang on for 6th. Go back a little bit further, some good stories as well. Tommy Dreese, even with his problems, ends up in the top 15. And then Tyler McQuarrie, what a run. 18th overall, winning in GTS. Asayan, his best ever finish. What a great day for Nick Asayan, carrying the banner for real-time racing. And then Robert Stout did it. Youngest winner ever.
You see Patrick Lindsay out. The rest of the guys who had some trouble, Steve Ott, Tony Rivera from the Brass Monkey Racing team. Not a good day for them. More donuts from our winner of the day. This is Kuno Whitmer in the 13 Woodhouse Performance Dodge Viper.
Back in Long Beach, and Kuno Whitmer. Yeah, some raw emotion and obviously well-earned indeed. Congratulations all around. And a quick look back at Kuno's day. You could describe it pretty much as perfect. He had a record pole lap, got a great start, was never headed on the way, broke the record for the fast lap of the race. And as he came around and picked up the checkers, he set an average speed record for World Challenge here in Long Beach. And then, of course, got in a few donuts as well. Doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And the young man came around, got into victory circle, peeled the helmet off, and let's get down and hear from him.
Race number 2, you said you wanted to win it from the pole. It couldn't have gone any better for the number 13 car today.
Man, this Woodhouse Performance Dodge Viper was just awesome. I gotta say, awesome. The hats off to the guys. 50 minutes I was able to crank out great laps all the way to the end. The brakes got a little bit hot near the end, but I mean, I was clear sight, I was sailing, I loved it.
Did you have any idea of what was going on behind you?
Not a clue, not a clue. I knew I had a great start. So the Volvo stepped behind me. Brandon started pushing me a little bit. That didn't give me enough pressure. I just kept my head down and go forward.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Boy, he's going to be fun to watch as the season unfolds. Let's take a look at the GT class results. Whitmer, Crescentini again from 6th to 2nd, a great drive. Davis, Morissette, and James Safronis complete the top 5. Just a solid day of driving for pretty much everybody. And, of course, Ron Fellows had been in that mix for most of it until the engine let go. And at this point now, let's take a look at the points in the category. The top 3 folks covered by 2 points. The top 4 by 6 points. Doesn't get much closer to that in World Challenge. Let's get down to Tom once again with our GTS winner.
But Tyler McQuarrie out of the car, nice and warmed up. First ever time for a Lotus in World Challenge. Your first World Challenge race, and you can put that one in the win column.
Yeah, that was unreal. You know, I knew we had a little advantage over Cunningham, but got a great start, got a couple GT cars on the start, and then I noticed I just had a huge gap, and I didn't have a radio that whole time. My radio was dead, so I had no idea how big the gap was. I was trying to look around, trying to watch the TV screens. I saw an Acura pull into the pits. I don't know who it was.
It's Peter Cunningham.
Wish I would have known that. But I turned down the pace, you know, by probably about 3 seconds, 4 seconds from qualifying. I was just cruising around. It was actually kind of a boring race for me. Just cruising around, but glad to be out here in World Challenge. Thank the LPL, DRS guys. They've been working their butts on this thing, and so glad to give them a win.
He drives like an angel, ladies and gentlemen. At least that's what it says in his car.
Well, it certainly seemed to be a pretty heavenly race he put together, so let's take a look at what he was able to achieve. From the pole, a win, and in a debut race at that, and just an absolutely glorious day, bringing Lotus its 10th win in World Challenge competition after a bit of a breather, if you will, from Lotus Racing in World Challenge. Boy, did they come back strong. Here are the class results. McQuarrie, then is Sayan with a 2nd place. Mike Pettiford, great drive to the podium. Great to see Charles Espelot filling in for Dempsey in 4th, and Gary Tolar in the GMG Porsche in 5th. And in the points, Nick Asayan has trimmed a good 20 back from Cunningham's lead. Mike Pettiford now up into 3rd. Huge emotion down in victory lane. Let's get down to Tom once again.
Robert Stout with Ken Stout. Ken just got back into town. And this is a little bit happy for Ken. Robert, phenomenal race. It couldn't have gone any better. Your first World Challenge win.
Yeah, it was. Out here at Long Beach, it's been awesome. I got to thank Lucas Oil, Rockstar Energy Drink, E3 Spark Plugs, Aviation Institute of Maintenance, all helped me get here. The guys from Scion have been awesome. Got out to a, pretty decent start, holding second. Got out to first place, and I think I might have had a left rear going flat, trying to hold on the last few laps. But yeah, it's awesome. Glad to be out here.
Boy, what an incredible run. The official numbers for him, 18 years, 1 month, 16 days. Youngest driver ever to win a World Challenge. Eric Meyer, great drive to second. The pole sitter Whitmer in third. In the points, he now leads the championship and fairly handily over Meyer. And you see Don Gardner right there in fourth. So a pretty good start to the season for the DG Spec team from Don Gardner. And the emotion and hugs continue down in pit lane. And when we come back to Long Beach, we'll be heading over to the victory podium where some specialty awards are going to be presented. Today's coverage of World Challenge has been brought to you by MTM Special Ops Watches, the official watch of World Challenge. And by Game Streamer, the official digital gaming provider of the World Challenge Championships. And the celebrations continue. They've just moved over to victory lane right now. And our overall and GT winner, Kuno Whitmer, enjoying the moment. Absolutely holding the trophies aloft. And for our Sunoco Hard Charger Award, it goes to Bill Ziegler in the Swisher Racing entry. Started 18th, but it was moves like this. Now we're on board with Tony Rivera. Watch Ziegler go by him. Just a great pass, and Ziegler making more moves from 18th to 11th, up 7 spots. That netted him the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. And there's a look at last year's GT Rookie of the Year, showing he's still got it. Here's our GTS podium, and there's Tyler McQuarrie, who put together an absolutely great day of racing as well, and enjoying those championship trophies. And at the top of the show, we showed the trophy. You remember the other piece of hardware they were going after, the MTM SpecialOpsWatch.com. Best move of the race, Dino Crescentini. It might be the best moves of the race as he came up from 6th to 2nd, and that pass on Boris Said is going to earn Dino not only a beautiful watch, but a nice check from the folks at MTM Special Op Watches as well. A little bit of a ding on that car and that BBS wheel right there as well.
You know, there's a reason you put good parts on a good car, and that's to make sure you make it through the race. You had a left front wheel that just basically saved your bacon.
I will no longer bitch at the high price of BBS wheels. That's all I can say.
John Slagle, president of BBS Wheels here. You know, every time something like that happens, that's just got to put a smile in your heart.
Well, first I have to correct Dino. It's a moderate price. Did I complain about the high? I meant moderate. No, it's a testament to our quality and our technology. We really work hard to continuously advance our product, and we keep doing it, and it's a testament when you look at this wheel and you see how damaged it is, and yet he never slowed down. So it's really a fight, and we keep working at it. So it's really good. Forged technology, BBS, it's great.
Well, what do we call them? Sports car wars. Sometimes that's exactly what happens. There's a good look at Robert Stout becoming the youngest winner ever in World Challenge history, celebrating on the victory podium along with Mr. Meyer and Mr. Whitmer. Some great stuff. Now we're going to go down to our Manufacturers Fan Championship. Look at the outpouring here. It was an easy one here. Dodge is your Manufacturers Fan Championship winner here at Long Beach. Let's take a look at the manufacturer points. In GT, Porsche up by 4 over Volvo and 3 behind is Dodge. GTS, it's Acura over Porsche. And in touring cars, Scion leads by a narrow margin over VW, and then Honda has a 2-point margin in third over Mazda. Let's take a look at our game streamer instant replay of the race, and because it was spectacular like the scenery here, we're going to revisit Kuno Whitmer doing donuts. And you know what? Even after the checkered flag, even during celebrations here at Long Beach with a huge field, it can still get a little bit dicey. Suddenly he's facing traffic, and here it comes. But everybody giving Kuno a wave, and he was too. So we've seen another amazing race here in World Challenge at Long Beach. This time, Tom, as you made it back to the booth, first time with 3 classes running, not a caution.
Well, it's not as if there wasn't enough reasons for caution. We see the hood come up on Cunningham's car. We see a lot of bumping and grinding like this one between Crescentini and Boris said. There's Ron Fellows letting people know that he's coming through. A little bit of a fire for them, but running clean and green is the way you want to go. And SCCA Pro Racing got it done for us, Greg.
Next round of the championship in Tom Natchew's backyard, Mosport. Always a great venue, and World Challenge has a tremendous history there. So head on up to Mosport.